Si te gusta este material, por favor compártelo y deja tu like. Cada vez es más difícil hacerlo. Gracias.
And it affects not just us, but other people in the cosmos. They're very much afraid that we might be stupid enough to start using.
Este hombre es una respetable figura política, muy importante del gobierno canadiense. Paul Hellyer, o como lo llaman en la biografía de la Wikipedia, el honorable Paul Hellyer, sirvió en el ejército canadiense durante la Segunda Guerra Mundial. Fue ministro de Transporte, ministro de Defensa Nacional y miembro del Parlamento en 2 distritos distintos. Uno de los políticos más importantes de América ha declarado que seres extraterrestres viven en nuestro planeta. Asegura que poseen una inteligencia superior y que nos están ayudando y supervisando en nuestro desarrollo tecnológico y social. El señor Hellyer ha escrito un total de 13 libros sobre política, economía y las crisis que ha traído la globalización. Títulos como Empleos para Todos, Un minero en crisis e Inflación de escape, a uno llamado La luz al final del túnel, en el que habla de las especies alienígenas que habitan entre nosotros. Dice que han estado visitando nuestro mundo desde hace ya miles de años. Y se ha generado mucha más actividad en las últimas décadas, desde que inventamos la bomba atómica. Ellos están muy preocupados por este hecho y la posibilidad de que la usemos de nuevo. A principios del año 2005, fue noticia al declarar públicamente que creía en la existencia de ovnis, y este es el video. La noticia apareció en incontables medios de comunicación, pues las declaraciones venían de alguien muy respetable del gobierno. Además, es obvio que alguien tan preparado como este señor no buscaba dinero, ni mucho menos fama. Si quieres, presta mucha atención, porque es bastante interesante.
My name, as I said, was Paul Hellyer. I'm a former Minister of National Defence for Canada. I served in 3 governments during a total of 23 and a half years as a Member of Parliament. Although as Minister of National Defence, I had sighting reports of UFOs. I was too busy to be concerned about them at the time because I was trying to unify the Army, Navy and Air Force into a single Canadian Defence Force. And that itself was a kind of battle to the finish. So this was not high on my agenda. But about 10 years ago, I started getting interested due to a young man from Ottawa sending me material on the subject. I told him I was too busy to read it, but he had confidence that someday I would. He sent me a copy of Colonel Corso's book, The Day After Roswell. It took me a while to get around to reading it, but I took it for my summer reading in 2005 and was really impressed with what was contained in it. And what I thought to myself is there are huge issues here, huge issues. And the American people and the people of the world have a right to know what's going on, because they're part of it. It's not just an isolated thing. And so after confirming the contents of the book with a retired United States Air Force general, I accepted the invitation of Victor Vigiani, who's over here somewhere, and his cohort Mike Bird, to speak to a symposium at the University of Toronto. And I said, UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying overhead. That gave me the dubious distinction of being the first person of cabinet rank in the G8 group of countries to say so unequivocally. Since then, I've learned a lot from many sources, including a number of the fantastic witnesses that we have heard these last 4 days. They were so outstanding, I was just really blown away with them, the amount of information that was available. and I appreciate every single one of them. But because I'm not a ufologist, I'm a politician, there are only a few things that I want to add in that particular realm. First is that about in the 1960s sometime, it was a flotilla of UFOs headed south that crossed into NATO territory in Europe, and the Commander-in-Chief of the Supreme Allied Headquarters in Europe was naturally very shaken. Fortunately, or maybe divine providence, before the panic button was pushed, the flotilla turned around and headed back north. Obviously, they had thought maybe they were Russian, and they were very concerned about it. Anyway, the investigation was launched into this whole subject, and a document was prepared which concluded that at least 4 species had been visiting Earth for thousands of years. And this is my own view at this stage as well.
Después, en el año 2014, en una entrevista con el noticiero RT de Rusia, dijo que son 4 especies de alienígenas las que nos visitan, que vienen de otros sistemas solares, aunque algunos viven en Venus, Marte y la luna de Saturno. Es bastante perturbador que alguien que formó parte del gobierno de Canadá le pida a los gobiernos del mundo que hablen del tema, que dejen de ocultarnos la verdad. Esto sin duda es algo muy, muy inquietante.
We have a long history of UFOs, and of course there's been a lot more activity in the last few decades since we invented the atomic bomb, and they're very concerned about that and the fact that we might use it again. And because the whole cosmos is a unity, and it affects not just us but other people in the cosmos, they're very much afraid that we might be stupid enough to start using atomic weapons again, and this would be very bad for us and for them as well. The first question you have to ask is, how many species are there? And I used to think there were, between 2 and 12. And Apollo astronaut Edgar Mitchell, who came to Toronto a few years ago and had dinner with us, agreed that it was somewhere between 2 and 12. But the latest reports that I've been getting from various sources are that there are about 80 different species. And some of them look just like us, and they could walk down the street and you wouldn't know if you ran, walked past one. And they're what we call the Nordic blondes, and also the tall whites, who are actually working with the United States Air Force in Nevada. They're able to get away with that. They had a couple of their ladies dressed as nuns went into Las Vegas to shop, and they weren't detected. And I have a friend who saw one of the men walking along the street, and somebody who would recognize that they were different, and he did. So there are those kind, and then there are the short grays, as they're called, and they're the ones that you see in most of the cartoons. They're have very, very slim arms and legs, and they're very short, just a little over 5 feet, and they have a great big torso and a great big head and great big brown eyes. They don't want to tell us how to run our affairs. They have accepted the fact this is our planet and that we have the right to run it, but they're very, very concerned. They don't think we're good stewards of our planet. We're not. We're clear-cutting our forests, and we're polluting our rivers and our lakes, and we're dumping sewage in the oceans, and we're doing all sorts of things which are not what good stewards of their homes should be doing, and they don't like that, and they've made it very clear. And as a matter of fact, they have given us a warning.
How?
And this has come from more than one source.
How have they made it clear? What have they done?
They have talked to people. One of the chaps I talked to about a month ago was interacting with them in 1974, he and his brother in Peru, and they were taken to Andromeda, teleported, and they were told what the people there think, and that we're really wrecking our planet, and in fact that something dreadful is going to happen to it if we don't smarten up and change our ways. We spend too much time fighting each other, we spend too much money on military expenditures, and not enough on feeding the poor and looking after the homeless and the sick, and that we are polluting our waters and our air, and that we're playing around with these exotic weapons, thermonuclear weapons and atomic weapons, which have such a devastating effect both on our Earth and on other areas in the cosmos.
Estoy seguro de que Paul Hellier sabe de lo que habla. Esto me ha dado la idea de hacer un video sobre los misterios de Venus, Marte, la luna de Saturno y los demás cuerpos celestes. ¿Te gustaría ver estos videos? Hay cosas tan obvias que sería loco pensar que no son reales. ¿Qué opinas? Déjame tu opinión aquí abajo. Esto es Criminal y nos vemos muy pronto.